Donald Trump Jr.
Harsh to win, see ya. Hey, everybody, I want y'all to check out a fellow Marines podcast.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a who is celebrating God, family, country.
Welcome to the Ryan Samuels Show, one of the top political podcasts in the United States, where we have a healthy distrust for government and mainstream media. The Ryan Samuels Show is a raw, unfiltered look at American politics. Follow on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Here is your host, Ryan Samuels.
Hello, Patriots. Welcome to the show. Some big news today. Probably the biggest story of the day is Letitia James, that far-left lunatic district attorney who tried to pursue Donald Trump, has been indicted herself. What a very interesting situation. What goes around comes around. And, you know, Miss James, I'm sorry, but nobody is above the law. I mean, nobody is above the law, Tish. And don't ever forget that when you're, you know, filling out mortgage paperwork and you want to claim your property as, or your multiple properties as all of them being the same residence for your tax benefits. So Letitia James has been indicted. And it is really good news. She's not so happy. She's not so arrogant. She's not so cocky today when she woke up. She's having a rough day. This is her during the trial of Donald Trump. And she just seemed so confident.
We just concluded another day of testimony in our trial against Donald Trump, the Trump Organization, and other defendants. First, we heard from an insurance underwriter at the insurance company, Tokyo Marine HCC. In 2016,
she can barely read.
The Trump Organization was looking for an insurance plan, and he was responsible for analyzing their financials to determine eligibility for coverage. Underwriters take a variety of financial and legal factors into account, including whether a company is subject to a government investigation. He testified that the defendants never told his company that the Trump Foundation was under a previous investigation by the New York Attorney General's office.
Oh, yeah. Look at her trying to explain away and trying to really build this case against Donald Trump.
Investigation that ultimately resulted in the Trumps paying millions of dollars and the closure of the Trump Foundation. And because they misrepresented their finances and did not disclose that investigation, the defendants were able to get a lower premium. Just 3 years later, the company would only renew the plan for at least 5 times the original amount.
This is the most doctored case, I think, in American history. It has to be, or it's pretty freaking close. This is back in May. This is Letitia James taking a question from the crowd, and it looks like it's so funny.
Yes, my question is for Tush James. Will you apologize to President Trump for wasting millions of dollars and the state of New York for a witch trial? And how does it feel to know that you will be in prison for mortgage fraud?
Thank you for coming.
That's awesome. And it looks like that's coming true.
We want to thank him for coming. We respect all opinions. Everybody knows those allegations are baseless.
Yeah, but
they're discredited. And so we want to thank him. Our next speaker.
But you were indicted by a grand jury today, Tish. Not so confident now, are you? This wasn't her only debacle. This was back in March of last year. She was basically rode out on a rail at the FDNY New York City summit for the Just watch. She's getting booed.
Oh, come on. We're in a house of God. First, simmer down. I want to
simmer down. What are you, their mom? Are you their school teacher?
thank Commissioner Kavanaugh and Chief Hodgins
They're chanting
for
Trump.
that recognition.
This is about to be the most hated woman in American politics. You know, the whole notion of the Trump. She tried to say like Mar-a-Lago was worth like $25 million, and it's not. It's worth like billions of dollars in that area. And it was a ridiculous notion. It was a ridiculous case. And it really showed and demonstrated how badly the system can be used against anybody. And I think that's the most important thing that we need to remember, is that the system, no matter what system, the court system, can be used and weaponized against anybody. And this Letitia James case is a prime example of that. And the question is how do you fix it, right? How do you fix this system that has so many laws and so many loopholes and so many violations of this and that? And if you can't get them on a criminal, then you get them civilly. How do you stop the government from going after people who don't deserve to be gone after? You shouldn't be able to go after anybody without actual evidence of a crime, like a real crime, not a BS, bogus. There was no victim in this crime. Even the bank said, no, we verified how much his property were worth, and we agreed that his properties were worth that, and we based the loans off of what we agreed. And we love the Trump administration, and we want to do more business with the Trump administration. So there was no victim. So Letitia James trying to say that the Trump administration falsified their documents to get more money from loans from the bank, which would mean that the bank was the victim. And then we found out that the bank is saying that they're not a victim and that they agreed to it and actually verified what the homes were worth, and that they love doing business with the Trump administration, to now where just going after people for insane reason. This is Caroline Leavitt less than a month ago. I think this was 2025. Yeah, this is September. I think this was September.
Specific for you today. Sure, Selena.
Thanks, Caroline. But the case against Letitia James was extensively investigated for 5 months, and President Trump's handpicked Attorney General Eric Siebert could not find any evidence that he committed a crime. So is the president saying here it doesn't matter if there's a crime, he just wants his political enemies to be charged?
Well, let me just walk you through Letitia James. Letitia James completely abused her oath of office. Letitia James was actively and openly engaged in lawfare. You talk about weaponizing the Department of Justice. What was Letitia James's campaign slogan? It was prosecute Donald Trump. She was saying she was going to prosecute Donald Trump before she even knew if Donald Trump committed a crime, which of course we did not. Those are not the words of a serious prosecutor. Those are the words of a corrupt politician who is abusing their power. She actively campaigned on that. She also led the witch hunt, the financial fraud investigation against President Trump and the Trump Organization, and an appeals court tossed that case out, a $500 million civil fraud penalty in August, which was another win for the president, and exonerated him of this witch hunt and showed that this is an individual who is corrupt and abused her oath of office. And we also have evidence of her mortgage fraud. An April report from a white-collar fraud investigator found that there was documented evidence that James engaged in a consistent pattern of financial and property disclosures that raise serious legal questions.
But why won't
That answers that question. Obviously, she's a corrupt person, okay? We all know that, Letitia, you have to be a corrupt person if you're going to go after anybody simply because you don't like them and use the system and weaponize it against them. But she explained it very well about who Letitia James was. And Letitia James should be removed from office. She should go to federal prison. She should lose her legal license. She should never be able to practice law ever again. I don't know what these people were thinking to go after reform. They're useful idiots, right? If you're not familiar with the term useful idiots, it's basically a communist term where they use people to do the bidding of the elite, and then they take all the heat, get all the trouble, get no credit, and get no reward. They're just useful idiots. They're dummies. Fannie Willis too. You can tell Letitia James is not the sharpest tool in the shed, and neither is Fannie Willis. Here is MSNBC.
Office is expected to charge Tish James, the New York Attorney General, with mortgage fraud. And of course, Donald Trump, we all saw it posted on Truth Social in recent days, exhorting his Attorney General to charge both of those people as soon as possible. But again, this is, grand juries are secret. This is a fluid situation.
Here is the post that Donald Trump, for all the people who are listening. Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time. All talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Shifty Shift, Letitia? He spelled Letitia wrong. That's awesome. They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. When we almost put in a Democrat-supported U.S. attorney in Virginia with a really bad Republican past, a woke rhino who has never going to do his job, that's why 2 of the worst Dem senators pushed him so hard. He even lied to the media and he said he quit and that we had no case. No, I fired him and there is a great case. And many lawyers and legal pundits say so. Lindsay Halligan is also a really good lawyer and likes you a lot. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached him twice. They impeached me twice, indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now. President Donald J. Trump. I love how Donald does like essentially all of his White House communications through posts on X. I think that is the greatest thing. I am a firm believer that all government communications and everything should be fully transparent. I should be able to log into the president's email and see what's going on, see what he said today. Any elected official, like all of their recordings and communications in the capacity of government duties should be visible to the public. Sorry, but there is no expectation of privacy when you're the president of the United States. That's just how I feel about it. Do you agree? If you do, put it down in the comments. If you don't, put it down in the comments. But I highly doubt Donald Trump posted this without talking to Pam. He probably talked to Pam and said, "Hey, what's going on? We need to get this done." She's under a ton of pressure. These people need to go to jail. This situation that happened with Letitia James and Fannie Willis and Adam Schiff, like all of these people need to go to jail. And I know that they're scared, and I know that they are terrified, and rightfully so. They should be.
It's also important to know, though, that the U.S. attorney, the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney in this office, Eric Siebert, was essentially forced out last week, in part because he was refusing to bring these cases. We're told that he was opposed to prosecuting both James and Comey on these grounds, and he's out. In office is expected.
Yeah, and Donald Trump doesn't care. Donald Trump wants them prosecuted, and I don't blame him, dude. They tried to put him in a federal prison for the rest of his life. A former president of the United States over nothing. They just found the man and then tried to fit the crime. Now, this looks like to be a piece of the evidence that she basically, for tax purposes, committed fraud against the mortgage company and the state by claiming that her primary residence was at 2 separate residences to avoid paying taxes, to get tax benefits from one state rather than another. And they're saying that she knew about it, she was aware of it, and she did this intentionally, which wouldn't surprise me. The only thing is that you really can't do that, okay? Because it's different when you're trying to, like, if you're refinancing your house and the mortgage company gives you get somebody that says your house is worth $450,000, $475,000, and then the mortgage company says, you know what, we're going to give you a loan for $500,000, and that $275,000 in equity you get to keep, and then your mortgage payment changes. We're going to pay you X amount. Okay. Once you do that, it's two mutual people coming to an agreement. There's no victim. Everything's fine. Now, when you live in New York City and then you have a house in Florida and you make the house in Florida your primary residence so that you don't have to pay taxes or whatever. This is just an example. This isn't exactly what she did. And then you didn't pay taxes. That's fraud, man. That's a different story. Let's listen to CNN.
Kristen, I understand we have some legal breaking news.
Yeah, we have just learned that New York Attorney General Letitia James, who obviously brought the charges and won against President Donald Trump, has just been
brought the charges and won. She didn't win. It got overturned.
Charges and won against President Donald Trump has just been indicted by the Department of Justice. This was a case that President Trump wanted to be brought. It's a mortgage fraud case, and it's also what led to the leaving of the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia. Eric Siebert would not bring these charges. We heard he had reservations about bringing these charges, and instead he left that position, and President Trump handpicked Lindsay Halligan to serve as the U.S. Attorney in that district.
Kristen.
Well, yeah, because he picked somebody that's actually going to put her in jail. I mean, guys, obviously this is what he wants. This is what they did to him. And he does not want them to screw it up and not come through. I mean, these people belong in jail, like without a doubt. 100%. They use the system, they abuse the system, and to use it for their political advantage. Here's Letitia James in February of 2025 eating the words now, today.
Our respective states stand up and enforce the rule of law. The president of these United States is not above the law.
No matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules.
Please sue him for us.
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the
That's what she ran on. That's what she ran. She's telling her constituents, yeah, we're going to sue him. We're definitely going to sue him.
And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain in her you-know-what. The Angle has obtained shocking allegations leveled by the Trump administration against New York Attorney General Letitia James. The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ accusing James of mortgage fraud. In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms.
Oh.
He cited a property in Virginia that she's allegedly claimed as her principal residence and a property in New York that she claimed as a 4-unit structure instead of the required, instead of a 5, which Pulte says means she was able to get a different type
of loan. Yeah, that's fraud. That's actual criminal conduct. And unfortunately, Miss James, nobody is above the law. Not even you. Here's the report from Newsmax.
On Valentine's Day a year ago, roses are red, violets are blue. No one's above the law, even when you think the rules don't apply to you. Happy Valentine's Day. She, of course, referring to Donald Trump. Our next guest using that tweet against her. No one is above the law, even when you think the rules don't apply to you. Letitia James. Florida Congressman and Florida gubernatorial candidate Byron Donalds is with us. Congressman, it's great to see you. Pretty ironic. Karma payback, revenge, all of them apply here. Do you think the DOJ actually charges her?
Well, look, if it's clear that she violated the law.
This is not today, okay? This was something that was from back in April. So this conversation's been happening for a while.
And she was committing mortgage fraud. Not to mention, as I understand it, if you're going to be the New York Attorney General, how are you claiming that you live in another state? That just doesn't work. And so if all these things pan out to be true, she should be charged. She was quick to charge Donald Trump, saying that he put fraudulent information on a loan application. Well, that's what she's accused of doing right now. And she also accused Donald Trump of saying that Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million. I mean, we all know that was just stupid and a lie. So if they go through their investigation and they find evidence, probable cause, that she was committing mortgage fraud for her own benefit, of course she should be charged. That's the way our system of justice works.
It all happened in 2023. So that's when she falsified these records, allegedly, and that was the same year she put Donald Trump on trial. Do you have any concerns about her being married to her father? Is that something we need to look into?
Listen, I think everybody's got concerns about that one. That's just not something that everybody thinks is cool. I don't. It's just weird, to quote a former person running for the vice presidency that we won't talk about. But look, at the end of the day, this is what happens. You have these officials who want to go on these witch hunts, while at the same time they're doing dirt behind the shadows, in the shadows. It's simply wrong. She should be held accountable like anybody else.
And it's finally happening. I mean, listen, this doesn't mean it's going to go anywhere. There's still definitely a lot of due process that has to take place. A jury, she could plea bargain, although she won't, because that would be admitting that she's wrong. But as long as Trump gets his headline, I think that's really all he cares about. I just think he cares about doing to them what they have done to him. And I think he's right. You know, the question is how do you stop it from the next person from continuing this on?
James over alleged mortgage fraud. James denies the allegations and says she's being targeted by the Trump administration. For more on this, let's bring in Fox News.
That's exactly what you did to Trump.
Sunday anchor and chief legal correspondent Shannon Bream. So what's this case about, and does the Justice Department have a case?
So there are allegations that she did not give proper information on loan documents, possible mortgage documents about primary residence, things that would have given her a better loan system to work with. More favorable terms. She and her attorney are completely denying it. They say this is complete revenge. And listen, presumed innocent. That's a great thing about our system. And an investigation is one thing. Do you get to charges? Do you get to a trial? I don't know. But Democrats have been telling us for years, as they did when she brought charges against President Trump, no one's above the law. You got to work through the process in the system, and we'll see how far it goes with her.
So essentially, she's being charged with something very similar to what she charged Donald Trump for. Or Letitia James.
Correct, because everything a Democrat accuses you of doing, it's because they're doing it themselves. Everything a Democrat is doing to you is something all of their accusations are admissions, essentially. So the Palisades fire, remember that last year, that huge fire that like killed half of the California, and their homes destroyed, like millions of people's lives, not millions of people's lives, but, tens of thousands of people's lives. And, have Gavin Newsom, they ran out of water because he had it diverted for some sort of environmental project. And every other news article was that it was climate change. Do you remember that? I just happen to have a list of news articles here about the Palisades fire and its cause. So this is from the World Weather Attribution, January 28, 2025. Climate change increased the likelihood of wildfire disaster in highly exposed the Los Angeles area. Okay. This rapid attribution study found that human-caused climate change made the extreme fire weather condition 35% more likely and intensified with droughts 2.4 times more probable due to global warming. This is from Al Jazeera, January 11th, 2025. Is climate change to blame for the California wildfires? Climate scientists attribute more frequent and intense wildfires to warming temperatures and droughts. January 14, 2025. This is from CNN. LA wildfires were more intense because of planet warming pollution, study finds. NBC News. January 28, 2025. Conditions that fueled LA wildfires were mostly likely due to climate change. This is from NOAA, climate.gov. The weather and climate influence on the January 2020 fires around Los Angeles. BBC, January 9th, 2025. Climate change. What role is it playing in the California fires? Newsweek, January 8th, 2025. How did the Palisades fires start? Is climate change to blame for LA wildfires? Here's from National Geographic, January 28th, 2025. Here's the role climate change played in the LA wildfires. These are just examples of many accusations. It turns out this is global warming, apparently. This human being who intentionally set the blaze his name is climate change. Has to be. Because there's no way the media got this completely wrong and blamed climate change on something other than really what it was. I remember when I was young, they used to really push global warming. And then the Earth stopped getting warmer, and we were getting cold snaps when we shouldn't be getting cold snaps because the Earth just is cyclical with its weather. And then they were like, well, man, this doesn't make much sense, guys. I mean, it's getting cold. Some days it's getting cold when it should be warm. They're like, the Earth isn't warming, so we need to change the title of this climate change. And of this global warming. Hey, Tom, how are you? Welcome on. And we're going to call it climate change, not global warming. But this must be the person, right? Their name must be climate change. Because there's no way all of these articles got it completely freaking wrong. Here he is, 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht has been federally charged with maliciously starting a January 1 fire that rekindled and became the Palisades fire, per the federal government. But, guys, it was climate change. It's amazing how much the media just will lie to you to push an agenda. They are all in cahoots. They're all pushing out the same word tracks. It's all the same kind of titles, just reorganized, and the article's reorganized. So when you go and see nobody really, I read a newspaper. I do. I get the Wall Street Journal delivered to my house, even though I live in the middle of nowhere, and I read it every day. So when you go to a newspaper stand, which they don't really exist anymore, but you go to a newspaper stand and you see that the New York Times, hey, is climate change responsible for the Palisades fires? Then you see Newsweek, hey, is global warming to blame for the Palisades fires? And then you see USA Today, global warming, could it be the cause of these fires? Los Angeles fires caused by climate change? ? And it's all of these newspapers that are separate from each other reporting the same thing. If you don't know they're all in cahoots lying to you, what are you going to think? Oh, this is a trusted source. We have to. Yeah, no, obviously climate change. We got to stop climate change. Here is the announcement of the arresting of the suspect.
Good morning. I'm Bill Asaley, the acting United States Attorney for the Central District of California. Today, we are announcing the arrest of 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht for igniting a fire that ultimately burned down the Palisades earlier this year, killing 12 people, destroying more than 6,800 structures, both homes and businesses, and damaging over 1,000 more buildings. The complaint unsealed today charges the defendant with destruction of property by means of fire, a felony that carries a mandatory minimum 5-year federal prison sentence and is punishable by up to 20 years in federal prison. The defendant was arrested yesterday on a federal criminal complaint near his Florida residence, and he's expected to make his initial appearance today in the federal court in Orlando, Florida.
That's right by me. I should go there when he has his appearance. Kat says it's all BS. Guy sets a fire department, mitigated fire, but roots were still hot. Then along come the Santa Ana winds, normal yearly events, wind reignites fire, and poof. Yes. Yeah. So that happens with, I learned that actually last year. There was this massive wildfire across the street. I live in a national forest. And there was this massive fire because a bolt of lightning hit a tree like 3 days before, and the roots caught on fire and then heated up and dried all the wood around it, and then the rest was history. So yes, Kat, that's very true. That's exactly what happened.
Stress that the complaint contains allegations and every defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. The allegations in the affidavit are supported by digital evidence, including the defendant's ChatGPT prompt of a dystopian painting showing in part a burning forest and a crowd fleeing from it. And we're going to put that up on the screen here once we get that going.
Hold on a second. He had a ChatGPT prompt. He asked ChatGPT to make a photo of a forest fire and people running away. That's not evidence.
In the affidavit are supported by digital evidence, including the defendant's ChatGPT prompt of a dystopian painting showing in part a burning forest and a crowd fleeing from it. And we're going to put that up on the screen here once we get that going. The allegations are, there it is. That's from his ChatGPT. That's an image he produced a few months before the fire started. It shows the city being burned there.
So what? I'm sorry. So what? He had ChatGPT create a piece of artwork that's one side of it is burning, the other side is not. That's you're grasping at straws here, buddy. I hope you have more evidence than that.
The allegations are further supported by the defendant's cell phone, his false statements to law enforcement, and his behavior during the Lockman fire, which the defendant is charged with maliciously starting shortly after midnight on New Year's Day of this year, and which eventually became the Palisades fire. Late last New Year's Eve, Rinderknecht returned to Pacific Palisades after working the evening shift as an Uber driver. Two of his passengers told law enforcement that he appeared agitated and angry that night. After dropping off a passenger in Pacific Palisades, Rinderknecht parked his car and tried and failed to contact a former friend. He exited the car, walked up a nearby trail, took iPhone videos at a nearby hilltop, and listened to a rap song whose music video including objects being lit on fire.
Okay. I'm totally confused here. He listened to a rap song, but in the music video had objects being lit on fire. Like, that's not... I don't understand what is going on here.
The defendant had listened to this song and watched its music video repeatedly in the days leading up to the Lockman fire. 12 minutes into the new year, environmental sensing platforms indicated that a fire had started. It took the defendant several tries to contact 911 to report the fire. He fled the scene in his car, but turned around after passing fire engines driving in the opposite direction to fight the fire. While the Lockman fire burned, the defendant walked up the same trail from earlier that night to watch the fire and firefighters, using his iPhone to take short videos of the scene. Although firefighters suppressed the blaze, the fire continued to smolder and burn underground within the root structure of the dense vegetation. So that fire started on January 1st, and it smoldered underground for about a week until on January 7th, heavy winds caused this underground fire to surface and spread above ground, causing what became known as the Palisades Fire.
I really hope you guys got some more evidence, because my BS radar is up. There's something that doesn't make sense. I'm not saying this guy is innocent. I don't think he is. I think he actually started the fire. But the evidence you're saying, like a ChatGPT prompt, okay, I do that all the time, right? You know, one of my favorite songs is Billy Joel, We Didn't Start the Fire. There are days I've listened to that. I know it word for word. I actually sing it in karaoke as a joke. Does that make me an arsonist? No. So I need to find out more about this, because I was hoping that they would have some video surveillance. Here's a video. Let's see what this is at.
There is something very large at play. In the Palisades fire, there was a couple from Portland, Oregon, and they drove into the Palisades fire scene in a decommissioned fire truck. They had emblazoned this fire truck with the name Rolling River Fire Department.
Were they there like from minute one?
All I know is that they got into the scene 2 days in a row before they were stopped and arrested.
Whoa!
I don't know if they burnt it down. We do know that they were acting suspiciously in the fire zone on a fake fire truck. Turns out the woman is a National Weather Service wind and fire expert who teaches juvenile delinquents climate change issues. They make rap songs called Weather Slaps. And some of the lyrics go like, wait until you see it all burn. And her husband, the guy behind the wheel, is a convicted arsonist who burned down country clubs and rich people's houses in a small town in Oregon.
Holy shit.
They were eco-terrorists. So I am convinced that this is an act of eco-terrorism.
That's insane to me.
I don't know. I don't know what that was about. It was just some video I found. All right, let's read this New York Post article. Let's see this. All right. Alleged LA Palisades fire bug. Jonathan. These freaking ads, man. Like, what is this? There's a new way to search. Try it now on realtor.com. All right. Thank you. Are we going to be able to read this? Is that it for the pop-ups there? New York Post. Alleged LA Palisades firebug Jonathan Rinderknecht threatened to burn down his sister's house before arrest. The feds. Man, look at that blaze. That's crazy. That fire's nuts.
History, killing 12 and causing more than $150 billion worth of damage. 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht, also known as Jonathan Rinder or John Rinder, was taken into custody in Melbourne, Florida on October 8th. He's charged with maliciously setting a fire that killed residents and destroyed more than 6,000 homes in Pacific Palisades. Investigators say it all began just after midnight on New Year's Day 2025. That night, Rinderknecht was working as an Uber driver and appeared to be agitated and angry, according to witnesses. After dropping off a passenger in Pacific Palisades, he drove towards Skull Rock Trailhead, parked his car, and began walking on a trail after trying to contact a former friend. Once on the trail, Rinderknecht allegedly filmed the area on his phone and listened to a rap song by the French artist Jossman, whose music video...
See, this is what drives me nuts about the media. Like, this is a New York Post story video, and all they're doing is repeating what they said in the briefing. Like, you're supposed to be questioning the authorities as a reporter.
Video shows things being set on fire, according to the criminal complaint. The suspect had watched the same music video repeatedly in the days leading up to the fire, according to court papers. Minutes later, sensors detected flames, which would be the start of the Lockman fire. Firefighters quickly contained it, but the blaze smoldered underground for days. It wasn't until...
If they contained it and then it smoldered underground for days, like, shame on the fire department. You should, like, guys, the fire should not be restarted. You should know whether or not the fire is out or not. Tom said, where is the evidence that put the defendants at the site of the fire source? That's a good question, Tom. That's what I'm working on trying to find that, because I don't know, my antennas are kind of...
Until January 7th, almost a week later...
That's my birthday, by the way, January 7th.
That heavy winds caused the underground fire to spread above ground, leading to what ultimately would become the catastrophic Palisades fire. During the 5 minutes after lighting the fire, Rinderknecht called 911 several times, but wasn't able to get through because he was out of cell phone range. He eventually was able to get through to authorities and report the fire after driving to the bottom of the hill. As he was on the phone to dispatchers, he asked ChatGPT, "Are you at fault if a fire is lit because of your cigarettes?" Rinderknecht initially fled the scene of the crime in his car, but later decided to return to film firefighters battling the flames.
Are you at fault? Okay, now that is a little bit more suspicious that he put that in ChatGPT. Was he trying to set up himself to protect himself as a defense?
The videos were among a trove of evidence discovered on his phone in the aftermath, authorities said. Months before the blaze in July, Rinderknecht had ChatGPT generate a grim, dystopian image of a burning city. In the ChatGPT prompt, he requested a dystopian painting divided into distinct parts that blend together seamlessly. On the far left, there is a burning forest. Next to it, a crowd of people running away from the fire, leading to the middle, the complaint said. Rinderknecht allegedly lied about being at the bottom of the trail, but later described the fire's origin in detail, information only someone who witnessed it would know, according to the complaint. He was finally arrested in Florida on Tuesday and will now be transferred back to California to stand trial. If convicted, Rinderknecht faces 5 to 20 years in federal prison. This arrest marks a long-awaited step towards justice for those who lost lives, homes, and belongings in the Palisades fire.
Thank you, New York Post, for just repeating precisely what the official story was. Here's your climate change caused fire. The Palisades fire is now thought to be due to arson. Yeah, so there was this little debate online of whether or not it was done by arson or climate change. Here is another New York Post article. This is the suspect. Alleged Palisades firebug posted anti-Trump screeds, blamed wildfires on climate change. Let's look at this. Here we go with all the pop-ups again. The ad is loading. Great news.
Nearly home. Just need more.
Reva McEntire, but we'll listen to that. Let's let that play out. But all right. So we know it wasn't due to climate change. But now here's the argument you're going to hear the left try to make. The left is going to try to make is they're going to try to say, no. We never said that the climate change caused the fire. We said that the environmental conditions that climate change caused helped the fire spread faster. See, they're very sly and they're very smooth with their lies. All right, let's listen to this.
Federal prosecutors have arrested a former Pacific Palisades resident for allegedly sparking one of the most destructive wildfires in LA's history, killing 12 and causing more than $150 billion worth of damage. 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht, also known as Jonathan Rinder or John Rinder, was taken into custody in Melbourne, Florida on October 8th. He's charged with maliciously setting a fire that killed residents and destroyed more than 6,000 homes in Pacific.
Is this the same video?
Things being set on fire above ground.
Yeah, it is the same
Are you
video.
at fault if a fire is lit?
All right. It's a different article, though. Melbourne, Florida. The Florida man accused of... This guy lived like 20 minutes from me. The Florida man accused of sparking flames that burned swaths of Los Angeles to the ground in the Palisades fire posted on social media about how global warming causes wildfires. He regularly took to Facebook to share posts about eco-apocalypse, mocking President Trump and his supporters and pushing people to become vegans. One article he shared, climate change will force a new American migration from pro-Republica, even including a thumbnail showing wildfires raging across California's hillside neighborhood. The 2020 story opened by discussing blazing West Coast temperatures. It's eerily and ironically similar to the situation Redneck is accused of creating himself, blah, blah, blah. Other posts on the alleged firebug's Facebook include photos of Trump supporters apparently crying after he lost the 2020 election, linking to a Harris-Biden fundraiser page and more. Okay. I don't care if this guy is a Democrat or not. The only way I would care is if he intentionally lit the fire to promote some sort of climate change agenda. Is that possible? I mean, yeah, but it doesn't seem to be the case. If he's doing that after the fact. So here's where my mind's at. They're saying that he did this after the fact. So he lit the fire, then he started sharing all the climate change things. Had he been doing that before that, had he had a history of all of these Facebook posts about climate change and how it's dangerous and how it causes wildfires, I mean, that may come out, but that's not what they're saying here. They're saying after the fire was set, he started doing this, promoting it, and sharing it. Does that mean he's an eco-terrorist? No, it means that he's probably like, oh, crap, I'm in a lot of trouble. I need to act like this was not arson and help push this climate change thing to get it off of my back. These are some of the articles he shared. Antarctic's ice shelves have lost millions of metric tons of ice from Scientific American. A shift to plant-based diets would create 19 million jobs in Latin American and Caribbean, which is the most ridiculous thing. A third from Forbes. And then August 2020, okay, so this is before. And in August 2020, Rinder, we'll call him Rinder, shared a post from Joe Biden claiming Trump inherited a healthy economy from President Obama, but that Trump response to COVID pandemic destroyed it. Okay, so he's a Democrat. Okay, here's the posts from John Rinder. September 4th, 2020, chip in to elect Joe and Kamala. John Binder, great climate change. Oh, this is from 2020. The great climate migration has begun. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean he did this on behalf of climate change, because that's the one article that they have that he posted on climate change in July 29th, 2020, 5 years ago. I'm not going to say that that's motivated, that this isn't intentional. I think the guy's just a nutcase who likes fire. They're out there. There are people who are obsessed with it. And it's a scary thing. For sure. It's definitely a scary thing. But All right. So, okay. Now this is where this is going. Climate whack job. He could be, man, but I need more evidence than one Facebook post from 2020. Sorry. There's just, that's not enough for me. He's 29. Had he been, he may be a Democrat, but that doesn't mean that he grew up in freaking California, dude. They were all Democrats. And then moved to Florida. And then went back and burned California to the ground. Horrible. But we'll see. I mean, we're going to see what's going to come out. There's going to be more information that's come out. If this was an act of like climate violence with the Trump administration and this being a federal charge, I would imagine Kash Patel would come out and say that, or Donald Trump would come out and say that, or J.D. Vance would come out and say that. They would definitely seize this opportunity to jump on the left-wing political violence train, right? They wouldn't pass up this opportunity to show yet another act of left-wing political violence. It does not appear that it is left-wing political violence. It may be violence done by a left-wing person, but not in the name of their political ideology. I just think, I don't know. We're going to find out more. We're going to have to find out more. I need more information. It's horrible, man. People's lives were destroyed. Forget, not even the money. Not even the money. But the lives and the property and people's homes. I mean, it's insane, man. And that's horrible. And I don't know if that was his intention or not, but that was the result. I'm glad that they caught him. I'm glad that he is off of the streets. I'm glad he's out of the state of Florida, or not yet. But we're going to see what's going on with that. We're going to see about Letitia James and where that is going to go. And make sure you guys go to ryanfsamuels.com/shop right down here and check out the merch. We've had some good t-shirts added recently. This hat right here, this Don't Tread on Me hat with the 6 Semper Tyrannis on the side, is for sale at ryanfsamuels.com. Check out the news area. We're updating the news blog almost daily at this point. We've got some cool articles about each individual rights in the Bill of Rights that you can check out, or also our review of United States presidents. And make sure you tune in. If you're listening on the podcast, click that download button. That is how podcasts are measured, and that is the best way to help support the show. If you want to help support the show financially, you can go to ryanfsamuels.com/donate and donate to the show and help us get this out there. We are strongly moving up the podcast ladder. We've had some awesome celebrity endorsements, from Ted Nugent to Donald Trump Jr., Sarah Palin, the Hodge twins. Thank all of you guys for that. Appreciate you guys coming on the show and helping the show out. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button. This guy right here is definitely a lunatic. Definitely a lunatic. Burnt the whole place down. The wrong way I'm pointing, of course. So this could be a left-wing lunatic. We don't know. He's obviously a left-wing lunatic, but we don't know if he did it in the name of political violence. Because of climate change, he wanted to burn it down. Maybe that might come out. But we'll find out. We'll keep everybody up to date. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And we will be back tomorrow night. Not sure what the subject is going to be. If you have ideas that you want to hear, drop them in the comments. And we will see you tomorrow night.
Thanks for tuning in to The Ryan Samuels Show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.